Welcome to the Upholstery Show, live from Arlington, Massachusetts. We're going to serve you up a beautiful bowl of coconut fiber.
Oh, we got a problem. Michaela, is the camera on? It's not showing up.
It is on.
Black.
It's on. The HDMI.
Unbelievable. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you? It's literally black.
Welcome to the Upholstery Show, live from Arlington, Massachusetts. We're going to serve you up a beautiful bowl of coconut fiber. Really?
Go. There you go.
Well, here we are. Another live question and answer. Thank you for tuning in. We know we have a few people already watching, so I'm going to start out a little different today. A lot of times when you
By
guys...
dancing.
By dancing, no, I don't think so. A lot of times the projects that I do aren't here for some reason on a Thursday. They're either being worked on or they're out the door. But today I have a few of them finished products that I have. And I want to start by talking about how upholstery, for all you people just starting out or you're in your journeyman period of your career, upholstery has so many nuances. And I want to talk about that a little bit today. Nuances that we, you know, I know it sounds like I'm plugging the online classes, but the online classes is the only place that we get these explained to us in detail, these nuances. Let me explain. So I'm done with this project. It's a nice little side chair and a beautiful woven fabric. And when I finish a project, I go over it. I actually by hand I clean it. I clean all the threads out. I don't trust your eye that you're going to pick up every little thing. You'd be surprised how many times, you know, you're very gently going inside the seat to see if there's a tack that fell in there or a staple or anything like that. But the nuances that I want to talk about on this chair are the pipings, okay? So to achieve this beautiful look here, and I want to show you something. In this area right here, this is called a transition point, okay? The pleat, the bow tie pleat coming down here, it's called the transition point. Okay, this is not easy to do, you guys. Oftentimes on the YouTube videos, it's not explained, even on my own. But we do love YouTube, no problem. You guys want to keep watching YouTube, that's fine. But on the online classes, you're going to see in-depth conversation, explanation about how to achieve these transition points, which are so important in upholstery. It looks simple, but there's a lot going on here. Let me explain. Underneath this piping, there's another little piping before the fabric is attached, right along here. Okay, that is put on there to make like a groove so that when you staple your fabric, makes it easier, by the way, to pleat and staple, because you have a line to go by. You're not out there freehand with your staple gun wondering where you should staple too. And then you staple, and this little welting comes around here and it nestles very nicely in here. And these little transition points, even when you cut your flange, is explained, okay? Cut it at an angle, and then you have to trim behind the flange to the stitch, but not in the stitch. Little things like that. That's what makes a beautiful job. Look at that. The other thing I want to mention too is, right in this area is critical. This is another transition point. You see the detail, you guys, in here? Look at the detail. Look at the little grooves in here. This, between here and the piping, very important that you don't take, for instance, I show you how to trim the material, okay? The batting, to achieve a nice transition point so that your welt doesn't look like it's just floating there after it's put on, or excuse me, your welt doesn't cause pull marks, which it can if you have too much padding in there. Little things like that. So I want to talk more about these subtleties on this project. So we're going to move along. I'm going to turn the chair sideways. Look how nice and even though this is a curve, how nice and even the piping is and my outside is. Look at that. We also show you how to use ply grip the proper way, okay? And the right form of ply grip. You know, we talk about this also on the website, on Broadway Upholstery School. You're going to see that we have offered materials, time tested. You won't get caught up in the wrong type of material to use. And when I say material, I mean upholstery, you know, the materials we use for upholstery, not fabric. But this is key. You need a soft ply grip to be put in there, and how to do it, you know, you put it in, staple it on, where to put it up against the piping, and how you kind of like fold the ply grip about halfway so that the fabric, and how to trim the fabric, little things like that. It adds up, doesn't it, guys? So let me just keep going along. Here's another beautiful transition point that I pulled off pretty good. My outside back. And now all the time, I am working now, you guys, as we go. And I'm just checking to make sure that this job is ready to be packaged up. What I do is I take a clear plastic after I'm done, after I'm satisfied. One more thing that I do, you guys, I run my hand along the bottom edge like so to make sure no staple is sticking up through there. You know, you don't want that. And I finally do a hand check of the whole chair to make sure there's nothing sticking in there. That's the time. As you're upholstering, it's another thing you see on the online classes. I teach people how to do that. You are doing that check too as you're upholstering. But when you're finally done, one last time, and then that's ready for the package. So let's put this one down. I got a favorite one. I love this fabric I'm about to show you. Oh, by the way, this is a live question and answer. You guys have questions as I'm going along here, by all means. Actually, I want to talk about this project now. This is a herringbone, a white herringbone fabric. Isn't it beautiful? I'm not sure if the camera's picking up the herringbone in this stripe. It's a wider herringbone. But something that subtleties, again, nuances, right? Look at the piping. Look how beautiful the piping looks as a bias cut. So guys, see this? It almost looks like a twill that's specially custom made for the chair. So that's a nice bias cut. No, I don't match it. What you see with matching piping is store-bought furniture, believe it or not. Store-bought furniture, they have a cushion maker. They can make a cushion all in one go. It's a very expensive machine, but they have to match. So when you're custom, very rarely do I match a fabric, and I'm going to show you on the plaid over here. I didn't even match that because I'll show you in a minute why I didn't do that, but look how beautiful this is. I do obviously match the cushion, and I match the cushion to the seat, and I match the cushion to the inside back, and I match the back. Isn't this a beautiful chair? This is a beautiful old chair. This thing's heavy too. Let's just push this aside. Love this chair. Came out great. Really happy with my work this week, you guys. I checked this one out for any staples sticking out or anything. That's my last check. So let's put this chair up the plaid. So of course I match it, but I want to show you what I did. I actually bias cut the welt on this too. Some people might have taken the time, not much time, it doesn't really take much time to cut a welting and try to match it. But I think it looks better as a bias cut because you come around here, right? And you're coming around here. I think it just looks better. Okay, I'm going to check this one out to make sure that I'm satisfied with this. You know, I have my regulator as I go, and I'm just taking the threads in like so. A couple of loose threads there. A couple of loose threads here and there throughout, right? Not checking along. You know, you'd be surprised. You could do a really good job and be very happy. And then have a staple on the bottom and the cambric sticking out. And if the customer feels the staple, it doesn't matter what good of a job you do. They might associate that with a poor job. So I just felt the staple there. Just a little bit of one right here. Just going to tap that back in. Sometimes they don't go in all the way. There's another one. Just tap it in there. So this is, I do take great care before that bag goes on, right? Before that clear plastic goes on. Do we have any questions?
Nope, Al says hello.
From India. Hello from India. How is his manufacturing going?
Sure.
Ooh, you know guys, I feel a staple right here. Not a good thing, right? So what I'm going to do is gently push that in there. One got away, right? There we go. It's important to look and to take care of that. Okay, let's put this down now. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to actually upholster piping on the bottom of a stool. Isn't that beautiful? So what I do is I upholstered this and I'm ready to put the piping on the bottom. It has a base welt. And there are at least 3 different positions you can put a base welt on, you guys. One is even, one is in, and one is a little bit overhang. Which one of those 3 do you think is the right proper way? Or aesthetically, which one of those is the best? Just slightly, it's the one that's the hardest to do, which is just slightly over the edge, which highlights the piping. You'd be surprised how many people put it even, and then you don't even see it. It's not highlighted, hardly highlighted. So what we're going to do is show you the proper way of putting that on. So the other thing too is where you start on the piping. You want to start on an end. Okay, it has to be hand put together. That's a very traditional method of upholstery. Some people do try to machine stitch the end, but I don't like that. I like to keep to some traditions. I had some Martha Washington chairs in here the other day that they had ply grip closing up the outside underneath the arm. If you guys know what a Martha Washington chair looks like. The traditional way is to put a little gimp tack. You know, you've seen me use those tacks. I'm not sure if you guys have seen me, but they're little blue-headed tacks, very small. That's the traditional way of closing up a Martha Washington chair, so that's the way I did it. I didn't like that they used the ply grip to close it up the last time they did it. So it's the same thing with here when you're starting a piping. Patrick, can you do me a favor?
Sure.
I need you to plug the machine in downstairs.
Which machine?
The compressor. So I'm going to show you guys. This has legs that screw in. I'm just going to screw in one of the legs here just to balance the ottoman up so I could show you. I usually would do this in this position, but I want to show you guys. So that props up like that. I'm going to take a measurement up at the top. Is it already plugged in, Patrick? Is it plugged in? Oh, maybe it's already plugged in. All right. We'll soon find out.
It was already plugged in.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Sure that wasn't the, let's see. Sorry about that, Pat. I am going to measure to get my center point, right? See where that double staple is? That's where my center point is. So I'm going to start my piping a little bit extended this way because I'm going to be working this way. Okay, now right in the very beginning, my staple is in the seam, but I'm actually feeling the piping. I want to be about the piping width. The seam should be at the edge of the wood, you guys, okay? And then your staple goes in like so. You might want to get in the habit of angling your staple down like this. In a minute I'm going to show you this. Let's turn it all the way around so you can see it. Can you get a close-up of that right there? So 3 ways. One is over, where your seam is at the edge of the wood. The other one would be even, and the other one would be a little bit in. This is the proper way to do it, you guys. Now we're going to bring it back up, and I'm going to show you how to do a corner. It has to be consistent around the corner. That's key. You can't. I'll show you what I see a lot. And it's, again, you know, I hate. You know, it sounds like I'm trying to really push the online classes. But I do that because over the years, before I did any online classes, before I did any filming whatsoever, before I did any YouTube videos, I would teach upholstery to people at night and during the day, whatever. And almost always I see the piping, no matter how much I explain it, the piping's never at the corner, okay? So I'm going to show you. The thing about the classes is we make sure that you know, you can watch it over and over again, you know, and you really get what any application that you want to learn. You want to develop a good skill. Just play it over again. They're yours to have. You guys have them. Which brings up another point, Patrick, about the yearly subscriptions. Yeah. I think they're the best value. So they get those. They get all access for a year when they buy that at BroadwayUpholsterySchool.com.
Yeah.
But when they buy the individual classes, how long do those last?
Forever. Once you get that, you have it forever. You know, watch this.
So there you go, you guys. If you like, you could do the year subscription. You like something, just I think they'd have to buy that, right, Patrick?
Yeah. I mean,
So what do you think the best value is? I guess it depends on each person.
depends on what you have.
Yeah.
If you have something specific to one of the classes that we offer, then you can just get a single class.
And they have it forever.
But if you do an upholstery as for fun, as a hobby, and you don't care about the project, you want to see all different projects, definitely get the yearly subscription.
I think one of the better values would be that we have the ottoman, the kit.
Yeah. That's for everyone. That could be that's like starting off.
But that, to me, if you buy that, no matter where you are in this country, we talked last week about adult education and how you know, public schools are mandated to have adult education at night. So you got all these empty classrooms across the country who aren't being used. I know now is a little tricky, but once all this clears up, this pandemic business, you guys can get in and teach using that video, Patrick.
Right.
Using that video, you could be the teacher, and you know, you'd be surprised at what they pay. I mean, especially if you're a successful class, and they're ongoing classes, and there's waiting lists to get into your class. You're in the driver's seat. So I think you should check that out at Broadway Upholstery School if you're a little bit more advanced. I think definitely that's for people who are a little bit more advanced. So now what you want to do is you want to put a little cut in the flange right there. Some people do a little V, they cut it out like so. Okay? And then what you do is you go all the way this end and get a stake. And then what you do, people pull this. Don't pull it. Let it just kind of fall. Let it fall on the corner. Watch. Don't pull it. people pull it around the corner. They feel like they have to pull it around the corner, and then it comes off the corner. And you want it nice. Again, the subtleties. We're talking nuances and subtleties, right? Now let's bring this down and take a nice close-up of what we just did here. Look at that, you guys. Isn't that beautiful? It goes right around the corner. I'm not sure if they're seeing that. Let me just move it up so people can see it. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that nice pleat comes down and that welting comes right around the corner. Let's finish. Let's keep going. So here's another little tip, you guys, when you're putting the piping on. Another little thread in there that we don't like. Go. Now that you know that you have it secured, don't pull this unless you know it's secure, because you don't want to pull it off here. But you want to pull it tight all the way to this end. Look at that, you guys. Instead of going off that end, pull it, get a staple there, and then come back, and then don't use your eye. You want to feel this. You need to get used to how this feels. You don't want to measure it. This is all about touch. Am I being this fascinating that nobody's asking questions, Michaela?
Daniel's making some cool comments. Thank you, Daniel.
Oh, okay, comments.
Yes.
Okay, so I got lucked out here, you guys, and I wasn't even paying attention, okay? But I had to seam this piping, okay? And that's another thing I want to talk about when you're seaming a piping. Bias seams, they get lost. You hardly see them instead of going straight across. Can you get a close-up of this, Michaela? Can you try to get a close-up? I bet they can't. Can you guys see this? I hope that you say no. I hope that you say you cannot see the seam right here. I'm going to point with the scissors. Does the camera pick up that seam? Just barely? Okay, in a close-up maybe? Okay. So what I'm glad to see is that I wasn't at the corner with that. It's going to be off the corner. So try to avoid seams at corners. So now I'm going to cut this. You guys didn't think there was so much in putting a base welt on, did you? I bet you did. And then you're just going to kind of smooth this out, not pulling it at all. Just kind of let it lay there, you know. Don't pull it. I want to show you something. So another thing that when I'm teaching YouTube videos, I was just about to do something and not explain what I was doing. Okay, and that's common in YouTube videos. I think YouTube videos are great. I think that they're informative. I myself have seen YouTube videos. Whoops!
You alright?
Well, I don't care if I'm all right. I just want to make sure this is all right.
Oh my god. Well, that was entertaining.
Wow. Well, we're okay, you guys. You know what I'm going to do before we have another accident? Let's get the other leg in.
That fall off?
I was about to make a really good point. That's why.
Lost your train of thought?
No. I was just about to, I lost the train. I lost my sense of where the piece was. That's what I lost. I was just about to do something there without explaining, okay? And that's common in the YouTube videos, not in the online classes. Again, I hate to keep pounding on that, but they really are showing things like this. So what I want to show you is the welting was in a little bit right here. So what I was going to do is take the head of the gun and move it. I was doing it very fast. You guys wouldn't have even seen it. And kind of push it out with the head of the gun and then staple. It was just that fraction of an inch that I didn't like that it was over. It was in a little bit. So I did that with the gun. When I'm teaching, like an apprentice, I actually have to show them and explain those things to them, because that's my job, right? That's the difference. You know, we just saw it right there. So I'm trying to explain as much about this as I can. So now I'm going to go down, I'm going to pull this down here, staple, and then come back. I love the way this is coming out. Okay, now I'm gonna put this down this way. I'm gonna finish it up, and then I wanna bring it over to where we're gonna piece it together. So you guys have seen enough of the corner work. I'm just gonna, sorry my back's to you guys. Patrick didn't know, he doesn't have the overhead set up because he didn't know I was gonna be doing this. This is a little different. We'll get to the questions too, by the way. It's a little different today where I'm actually working on a piece. And I give it a pull all the way down here. And I have a seam that you don't see that ends up right about halfway, which is great. Come around the corner here. Okay, now I'm going to put this up to show you how I piece it together, the piping at the end. So let's make sure that we have the legs so we don't have another accident. I'm glad that wasn't the 400-pound sofa that I had in here last week that fell. Wow. Poor Michaela, should be underneath there. All I see was her ruby slippers sticking out from underneath.
What?
Patrick's going, what's he talking about, ruby slippers? I guess you got to be over a certain age to know. Michaela, you know what I mean by that? Ruby slippers. You guys never seen The Wizard of Oz? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, it's just so random.
No, it isn't. Is it random, you guys? We want to hear from you. How many people have heard of the
I
ruby
think you've seen
slippers?
The Wizard of Oz one too many times.
Patrick, the ruby slippers went for sale. I think they were like $500,000 or something like that. All right. So I want to make sure that I got my halfway point of this area. I'm going to cut this a little bit more. Watch this, you guys. I'm going to bring this way, about 1.5 inches. I'm going to cut that. That's very nerve-wracking, isn't it? What if I didn't cut that? What if I that's a short cut? I'd have to go all the way around there. So what I'm going to do is open up the seams to a little bit. My seams open up about 1/2 inch this way, okay? Not even 1/2 inch this way. But when you cut the piping, it has to be cut even, or they have to butt into one another. You see that, you guys? Okay, I'm going to take another staple here just to get that going in the right direction. Okay, and then I'm going to take this, I'm going to fold this under like this. And I'm going to put a fold in here. I'm going to try to tighten this as much as I can. And then watch what I do with the gun. I'm going to take the head of the gun again and I'm going to squeeze it. Look at that, you guys. I think I almost made it invisible, didn't I? See that? Then I'm going to take my... You guys could do this with a hammer, but sometimes I use my gun as a hammer. I probably wouldn't advise you guys to do that. I hope OSHA isn't watching. Pat, you know what OSHA is?
No.
Okay.
Another thing.
So you take your mallet and just mallet it down. Now I'm going to put the other legs on and I'm going to put this down and I want to look at it. Take a look at it. Now optional is the cardboard tack tape, you guys. Cardboard tack tape. Actually, I'm going to give you a test at home to see. Let's do one side with the cardboard tack tape. So what does that do? That evens it out and it keeps this from flapping, right? It's actually good for wear over time. But let's see if it makes a difference aesthetically. When we put our other legs on, I'm going to put this down to challenge you guys at home to see if you can see the difference. Wow. There's drama. We want drama, right? This is upholstery drama, right? We should have a drum roll, Patrick. What do you think this is going to look like? Come on. I think our, what do they call those guys that make the noises, Patrick, in movies?
Sound effects.
Sound effect man's asleep back there, you guys. This is going to get cambered, but we're not going to do that right now. I'm going to put this on the floor. Okay, I'm going to turn this around. Look at how beautiful that is. Are you kidding me? Let's turn it off. So that's the cardboard side, you guys. Can you see a difference? Look at the corners, how nice the corners look. All the way around. Nice. So our next step, this is going to have buttons. Now let's turn it this way because this is upside down. Look, you guys can look at it right side up, the medallion. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this on the floor. I'm going to put this up again.
Daniel says, I love the mallet. Good for meat and furniture. Which is funny because you used to work in a butcher shop.
Whoops. Actually, you guys, your mallet should be an essential part of your tool bag. And before you use the mallet, I don't know if you saw it, you can re-roll it, Patrick, to see if I did it. I might not have done it. But I'm always going like this with my mallet to make sure that I don't have anything on the mallet before I hit the fabric. So that's what you should get used to. And if your wooden mallet should be clean. I have a cleaner wooden mallet up here. You should never use your wooden mallets to hit out edges on furniture and things like that, and never use a rubber mallet. You can imagine using a rubber mallet on this piece of furniture. You're going to leave rubber all over the place. So, mallets are really important. I'll just unplug this. Let's put this up. Here's another thing, you guys, right? When you're designing furniture, or when you're reupholstering furniture, you want to redesign a piece of furniture. And the customer says, I want buttons. How would you arrange them? Well, I guess it depends too on the pattern. But as far as your first objective when you're putting buttons in anything is the arrangement, what the arrangement is. I happen to, I'm using the old arrangement that they had, in spite of the fact that the fabric's a little differently. It's different than what they had. It was more of an overall, so that the raw measurements fit better with an overall. But what I like about, I don't know if you guys could see this. Let me just redo this.
Daniel wants to know what brand fabric. Do you know that?
Cravat. So here are the buttons. The arrangement was the old arrangement. I don't always agree with the old arrangement, but when you look at this, it's a rectangle. So I really do like the 3, 3, and 3 on this. It looks good. And not to mention the holes were there, in the foam, so I couldn't really undo it. They didn't want new foam, so. But I think it's good. Even though it's a little offset here, you might be tempted to run this button here, but then you lose this. It's not symmetrical. All of these are 11 inches. Okay, so let's put them in. Okay, you're going to need definitely a button needle, you guys. There's no other needle that will do it. If you don't have a button needle, you know where to find one. Broadway Upholstery School, right, Patrick?
Yep.
We have different kits that we have, you guys. We have button kits. We have, and they come with different size needles. If you guys are doing repair work and you don't have a German needle, get a German needle. We have those available too, because if you're on the road and you're doing repair work, it's essential. Somebody calls you with the pop button, you go to the house, you're the expert on how to put a pop button in because you have the videos, the YouTube videos too. But that's a good little business, side business to the upholstery business, is repair work. We have shown repair work, Patrick, on the YouTube, right? Whereas the online classes are geared more to total reupholstery and restoration. But we show a lot of tips on the YouTube channel. So you check those out. That will just enhance a career that you guys, or even if it's a hobby at this point, or a cottage industry for some people, build your knowledge base up. Go to more like repair work. It can be profitable too. So what I'm going to do is I already have my buttons threaded with the proper twine. This is a nylon tufting twine. It's the only twine that you can use with buttons. There's no replacement for this. It's a time-tested, proven material for buttons only. Okay. And the other thing, you guys, is button machines. I don't know if you can see the button machine here, Michaela. You cannot make a proper button with the handheld button makers that you see. You're going to run into all kinds of problems if you guys are doing that. You're going to do a beautiful job on, let's say, a hand tufted settee, and a button's going to pop because the button wasn't made right. Okay, this button, I'm going to come right up to the camera to show you. The way to test a button after you've made it, you think you've done a good job, is you hold the fabric shell part of the button, you take your twine, your nylon twine, and you're pulling. You pull. You're putting some force behind this. Look, that's not moving away. If your button, I guarantee you, if you're using a handheld button maker and you pull it like that, it's going to come right off the loop part, and you're in trouble, because that will happen. I'll tell you a story. I have a restaurant. Won't mention the restaurant. Won't mention who I thought the upholsterer was that did that. But all the buttons are coming off because somebody didn't properly make the buttons. That all you see is nothing worse than seeing the silver part of the button without any fabric. It's terrible looking. So I do want to show you. So the difference between this button machine, first of all, is you're getting much more force and pressure behind this. So when you make the button, you force it down, and then I give it an extra little punch, and that usually makes a good button. But the other thing is really important, and they're expensive, there's no doubt about it. I've told people in the past that if you're just starting out and you can't afford the button machine, make friends with the local upholsterer, no matter how grouchy he might be, and sometimes they are. Not me, right, Patrick? Make friends. Bring him a cup of coffee. If he drinks, bring him a bottle of beer. If he smokes, he shouldn't be in business, right? Yeah. No smoke around upholstery, you guys. Don't bring him a carton of cigarettes. But make friends and say, can you make me some buttons, or can I use your button machine? You'll know how to do it before you go in, so it won't be much of a pest. But that's what I advise if you're just starting out. But then as you get really into your career and you want to invest in the dies, the dies are very important, okay? Try not to drop the dies. If you drop a die and you get a little burr on one, it's gone. And these are very expensive, you guys. Oh, it's good we talk about this. Well, you guys are getting a YouTube. It's almost like a YouTube video, isn't it, Patrick, today?
Yeah, I like this. People should let us know they like this format better than the.
Yeah, we want to hear if they
like watching the projects, the whole thing.
So let's start in the middle. Always start in the middle, you guys. Oh, I want to show you that never go like this. Don't go right up against the button. Okay, stay about. You have about 3 or 4 inches of twine, and you thread both ends of the twine through the loop. And I'm gonna go right here. And I hit some wood. Okay, so I have to go back out again and go around that wood. Kind of a pain in the neck. There we go. And I'm going to pull the needle out this way. There's one. Do we have any other questions or comments, Patrick?
Daniel was just saying that he doesn't like buttons.
Why doesn't he like buttons?
He says he sucks at buttons.
Making them or putting them on?
I'm not sure. But he wants to know if the thing you were talking about, with it all popping out, was that the haunted place?
Oh, yeah. Should we tell that story, Pat?
Well, was that the same place where the buttons were popping out?
Yeah, that's right. And
So yes, Daniel, you were right.
In all fairness, the story, sometimes in business, I'll talk about that. You have to give over to other people helping you. You're busy, especially in commercial work. So what happens is you might hire somebody to make buttons for you. And I'm going to show you an example how you can kind of get messed up. That's why I love the custom work that I do, because I do everything. If a button pops, which it never does for me, I'll be honest with you, I've never had a pop button myself that I've made, the custom made buttons that I made. It brings up a really good point. But in a bigger shop, like a commercial shop, you've got a restaurant and they want 1,000 buttons. You're the master upholsterer, you don't have time to make 1,000 buttons. Custom made buttons, so you give it to somebody. You might give it, some businesses do it, some you could send away and they make them, but a machine's making them. So if that machine has a little burr on the dial, like I just said to you or showed you, you could get 1,000 buttons that in 2 weeks or a month or even a year that start popping off. They should never pop. You just saw what the force that I used in trying to tear that button apart. I try every button. Look, I've got all my buttons back here, and I've got them twined up. Right? I'm just gonna put them over here. I don't know if you can see this. But I check every one before it goes on, right? There's another one, that's number 2, that's 3. Just check them all. This one just came off the thread. Rethread it. Check this one. So the point I was going to make is sometimes you have to give over to, other people, and when you give over to other people, other things, they might not be doing something even if they're in your shop making the buttons. So that they're doing what they're doing is they're pushing down and they pull up and they think they've made their button. But what this requires is pushing down, bringing it up, and then belting it down like that one more time. That one more time locks it. So you really have to be, if you're doing custom work, you have to make your own buttons. And Daniel should ask me why he's having trouble with his buttons. I'll probably be able to tell him why.
This is heavy-handed.
Hey, look at these mitts. When he says heavy-handed, I don't know. Maybe when he's putting the button in, not actually making the button. I know what he means. When he's making tufting, when he's doing tufting, I bet he's thought he can't be gentle when he's doing the tufting. I know what he means. So I tell people when they're doing tufting or button work can be fussy for sure, and if he's heavy-handed, he might have a hard time doing that. So when you're doing buttons, just pick a time when you're not, when you're relaxed, you're not tired, and you have more patience with yourself. I think that's part of the problem with us working alone, is that we can lose patience with ourselves sometimes. So you need to pick your times and the tasks at hand, right? And just put all these in, and then I need to get to my questions. And I think people aren't asking questions. They might be too busy watching, which is fine, because then I get things done. So again, too, this is my discretion where I put the buttons. I decided that I was going to use the old holes. But once I'm done with the bottom row, I think you might agree with me that it's very symmetrical on a rectangular shape, this arrangement. And the size buttons, it's another thing I want to talk about, you guys. Scale. Notice how I'm not using, I had a choice of at least 4 different buttons. So I went with what they call the number 45s. I have a dime size button that would have been way too small for this, right? I think this is a perfect size button for the size of the ottoman. I just go like this. I'll go in the middle first. So, Daniel, when he says he's heavy-handed, he means he's a guy, and he's got strength in his hands, probably, right? So, you need to learn how to be more sensitive, how to find the feminine side of your upholstery. I say that laughing, but I think it's some truth to it. When I was teaching adult ed, I would say that 95% of my students were ladies, and the occasional man. Which is interesting about that is most upholsterers are men, so I could never figure that out, or at least in my little world here. And but the most famous upholstery, you guys know, Patrick shows it every introduction, which I'm very proud of, is a lady called Betsy Ross, right? And people say, yeah, I had a guy say to me, you're full of it. Betsy Ross wasn't an upholsterer, she made flags. And so then this particular individual went to visit Philadelphia and to her house. And sure enough, there was a plaque. It said Betsy Ross, upholsterer, right there. You guys can go down and see that. I wish we had a picture of that, Patrick.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So he called me while he was there. He said, hey, you were right. Betsy Ross was an upholsterer. She was an upholsterer before she was a flag maker, I can tell you that. So there you go. I love it. Love my arrangement. I'm going to put this down now and get to, boy, we're late getting to the questions, right, Patrick?
Yeah, but this is cool. Like the different,
I'm going to put this
setup.
good side to good side there, you guys. Don't want to mess those up. So I've got 4 pieces. This last piece is almost done, and then it'll be done, 4 pieces ready to go. Oh, before I move on, I think we're going to run over, Patrick, because I want to show this cushion. My customer, she doesn't mind I use her first name, Deidre. She came in, and she has this cushion. We had a surprise for her when she came in. So, do you have that picture up of that beautiful settee, Pat, the French settee?
Not yet. I have to get it off my phone.
That's okay. It's okay. So I want to show. I'm going to take this apart maybe while you guys are watching. I think the customer's watching, so I'm going to take this apart. This is hand stitched in the back. So we have a new piece of foam that's ready to go in this because this is just totally gone. And we're repairing the cushion. And the surprise that we had was, and this is another thing that we're offering on the BroadwayUpholsteryschool.com. No matter where you are in the world now, Patrick,
Yep.
you guys can order foam cushions.
Anywhere.
Anyway, and we ship them. You guys get them. And we have videos. We have a video up now, Patrick, of how to fill a cushion. We've had a few of those up.
Yeah, we have plenty, and we have different
So
options.
you're good to go. You guys want to order cushions, feel free.
Any size.
Any size, and then it's all custom. Now, the big surprise this customer had was the fact that this is mohair. Mohair is like a material that lasts forever. So this is an older sofa. I think I estimated at least 125 years old. And that's how old the mohair is, can you believe it? And I'm going to put new filling in it, repair the seams, probably hand stitch them. And then she'll have a piece of furniture that will last a little bit longer until she's, decides that she wants to reupholster it, right? So we'll put this aside very gingerly because we're only repairing it. Okay. So now, finally, we get to our questions, Patrick.
Yeah.
And
Pam just followed up with her.
who?
Pam.
Oh, hi, Pam.
With her picture from a few weeks ago.
Oh, good.
About the cleat. So I could probably show that right now. I'll do that first, I guess.
Actually, do you want to do that first?
Yeah, I want to show it. 'Cause that's just a follow-up. It's not a question.
Okay. Is that up there now?
Yeah.
And that gives me a chance
There's
to
Pam's.
Pam is one of the founding members of the Broadway Upholstery School Forum,
Yeah.
Facebook forum, right, Patrick?
Yes, she is. She's a former student of yours, right?
Yep.
So there's that.
So Brad has a question, and I have the perfect chair demonstration for him.
And this question is up there now.
Brad, you are very intuitive, and you have a very good question. So just like the base welt that I just showed you, putting on edge roll, he calls it edge roll, that's the proper name, can go on 3 different ways at least. One is even, which this is, which is not proper. This is on here now, it hasn't been taken off yet. We're going to show you how you can adjust it or put a new one on. One is just slightly over the edge, which is the proper way, but not as much as the base welt. See these little nuances, you guys? I mean, there's so many of them in upholstery that, again, those online classes are so valuable for those little nuances. And that's where you really, that's the difference between a good job and a superior job, really. A good job, if you didn't know, that this has to be just a little bit over the edge to make it look a little better and also to protect the fabric that's coming down. So Brad, I'm going to show you, his question was morning. On the next show, would you show the correct way to put an edge roll on the front of a chair? Where exactly to put the front edge? Great idea. First of all, I want to start out with the size of the edge roll. So you have 3 different sizes. This is a small size, which is appropriate for this chair because it's a small side chair. You have a medium, which would probably be a little bit bigger than this chair, and a big, the third one is a bigger one, like 1.5 inches. That would be more for the front edges of sofas and things like that. So this is proper, but the where it is not proper. So let's just see if we can undo one end. And I'm going to do half of it, just to show you how subtle it is. Putting the edge roll even with the edge or behind the edge, you might as well not even put it on. Because the purpose of it, there's 2 purposes. One is to build up, and the other one, which is more important, is to protect your fabric from the edge of the wood right here. That's so important, especially since the client has a cotton cloth that we're putting on this. So we don't want in 2-year time to have a big rip across here, which it will be. By the way, they painted this, but this is going to be upholstered right here. Right? So let's just, I'm going to do a little bit more. And then I'm going to, this is cool that this chair came in here for Brad, because I'm working on it. I always love having a piece that I need to fix or work on, and then present it on the question and answer, like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Right? So I'm going to staple this just slightly over the edge. And I'm failing for that, you guys. I'm going to show this on the ground in a minute. You know, you hardly can see it. Let's see if the camera can pick it up, the difference. First, I'm gonna bring it up this way. Michaela, can you see it? It's good that that's red because I think, see the edge that I did, the right to the right, and the edge to the left. Can you see a difference? Yeah, I mean, as far as where it is on the wood rail.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting, you guys? When you look
Terry
at,
has a question about the online classes because she bought a yearly subscription.
who is it?
Terry.
That answers Brad's question, by the way. Okay, Terry.
Well, I wanted to mention it because it is kind of confusing. It's tough. We have a certain way we set them up. So
Yeah.
if you get the yearly subscription, you have access to any class we release within that year. You'll have access to forever. It's just once your yearly subscription ends, the new classes after that you won't have access to unless you sign up for another yearly subscription. So whatever is released in that year, you get to keep forever. They never go away.
I didn't know that, Patrick.
Yeah. So whatever that is released.
I thought it just went away.
No.
Wow.
So that's why, because we keep releasing classes. That's how we keep going.
I think that's very generous.
You know,
Very generous.
that's how they set it up. We've set it up on the site with the help of the tech guys.
And they also gave us advice, you know, as far as how other people do this, or is that that's unusual, isn't it,
I mean,
Patrick?
we're the only people that have something like this in depth. I'm pretty sure. There are a lot of people who do online classes, but
Yeah.
we offer so many different ones, and we're doing them all the time. So I mean, that's no skin off our back, right?
No, and again, our mission to, you know, when we first started the YouTube channel, we didn't monetize it. We hadn't monetized it for 8 years, I think, Patrick.
Yeah, like we're not trying to just rip people off and say, oh, you got to keep subscribing for the same classes
No.
every year.
No.
You know what I mean?
Because part of our mission is education. It's an educational thing, free education. You can't beat that.
Yeah. We feel like the new content is worth resubscribing for because next year we'll hopefully have the same amount of classes posted on there.
Right.
So we're trying to make it your guys' money's worth. We're not just trying to
Right.
charge you for the same thing over and over.
And you know, there are videos out there, there might be old videos out there of me talking about how, you know, I didn't want to make money on supplies and things like that. But then what happened was the bulk of our YouTube videos kind of caught up with us, where we just kept getting people asking, I'm not getting the proper, you know, materials or equipment. We're getting frustrated. So then Patrick and I decided, right, Patrick?
Yeah.
And Michaela, we decided, well, why not offer more of the supplies that I've used, common use throughout the years.
Man, that's really turned into pretty much us offering almost everything to do with upholstery.
The proper stuff, though, the proper things.
Yeah, yeah.
So that it just kind of saves aggravation and money for you guys, and also gives us a little bit of income. We wouldn't say no to that either, but that's why we started it, I think.
Yeah, and Terry, if there's any problem with that, I'm not sure, I'll check when your subscription ends. Just let us know. I can send you all the links on an email or something so you have them forever.
Oh, Terry right now is a subscriber.
Yeah, but so there shouldn't be a problem with accessing those once it's over.
There you go, you guys. For all you guys who haven't subscribed, you should. So here we got a question.
New class, October 1st.
New class, October 1st.
Yes,
And
the diamond chair, Michelle's diamond chair.
if you guys, hey Daniel, you wanna learn how to soft hand diamond tufting? That's the class. Velvet diamond tufting, Dan. Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous with those big paws of yours, right? If he's still listening. But I also show Michelle with my big paws how to do it, and I have to admit that her delicate hands do a little bit finer job than mine. So I know what Daniel's talking about, but take a look. That is a class, Patrick, that we were wanting to do for a while, the tufting class.
Right.
And I think Michelle was perfect for that.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you that it wasn't an easy chair to do the diamond tufting either. It was a chair that was a small side chair that didn't have the deep tufts, but it came out great, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It was cool.
So
there was some surprises in that class too. The other stuff that was worked on.
Yeah.
Like the Michelle wanted to do on her own that she did a cool job with. So.
Yeah, the painting.
Yeah.
Little surprise class, right? So Diana, she's out of Upholstery 1860s chair part 5, measuring and applying fabric. This is a YouTube video. She says, thank you for your informative videos. I am working on my first project, an antique hoop chair. I learned about that from you too. I put your video on and work alongside you. Brilliant. Hey, what do you think about that, Patrick?
Really cool.
That people can actually, it's like having me right there, if they'll have me. Some people out there going, I don't want that jerk in my class, in my house.
And if we do Zoom, then it'll be even closer.
Who wants that jerk? Yeah, but the Zoom classes, because everybody's doing Zoom, right?
Yeah. Hop on board that bandwagon.
We'll try it out, you guys. It's going to come up. It's going to come soon. So that's great. Thank you, Diane, for that. And then we have Janine. Janine, thank you for everything that you've done and hanging. Is she watching right now, Patrick?
No, she's tough with the time difference. That's well.
All right,
Australia.
because she's in Australia, but she'll probably watch it, I'm sure, later on. She says of the show last week, very interesting question and answer today. Is it okay to refuse to? This is her question. This is a good question. Is it okay to refuse to do a piece of upholstery for ethical, personal reasons, and how do you decline tactfully? I've actually been in that position. I won't tell you why, but I've been in a position where truth is important, I think, even if the other person doesn't want to hear it. But I think if you're truthful with people, if you really tell them what your beliefs are, and if your beliefs get in the way, and really is something that you don't want to do, don't do it. You know, you have the right as a business owner. I mean, restaurants, they don't have to serve people, at least in this country. If you have a client that you don't want to serve, you have the right to refuse service, definitely. It could open up a can of worms, but it's definitely, as a business owner, you're right to refuse. So this is a question now, this is a long...
From the website.
Question on the website.
Yeah.
So you guys, we're almost finished towards the end here, so if you guys have questions, now might be the time to ask them. because we want to get all your questions or comments in live if we can. But I'm going to read this question. It's a long one, so you have time to collect yourselves if you have questions. I picked up an antique cane chair to restore. This is evidence of repair and reupholstering of the original, but some scraps of hay and webbing are still there. The front rail top and bottom is lower than the side and back rails. That's a problem. A rustic inner box was attached with many large nails, I'm guessing to have a level area for webbing. My husband did a great job repairing, keeping most of the original parts, except the inner barn board box. I will be reusing the copper springs, that's good it had copper springs, and replacing the cane. All this is to ask for information on how the seat deck front corners would have been originally constructed, or have you done a video that would illustrate? What is the best way for me to send a photo? Did we ever get a photo,
That's
Patrick?
from Denise. I'm not sure if you ever. She might have emailed you. I forwarded that to you.
She might have
I
gotten.
figured you'd address it here because she might be interested in taking a one-on-one Zoom class for you to help with that.
And I think this is the type of thing that needs a Zoom class. It's there's a lot to this.
This is kind of similar. We tried doing this with Erica, the custom videos. It was just too
didn't work
right
because it wasn't their piece.
Which we still have one that we owe
But
her.
Erica's gonna get. She watching.
We have a good idea for her. I don't think Erica's here, but we should find.
If she watches it later,
we'll send her an email.
Yeah, we have an idea about it. Yeah. So this is one of those questions that does require, I mean, I don't know how we're setting the Zoom classes up. Are we setting them by the hour? Are we setting
Well,
up
I
classes?
think we're gonna have multiple options. My idea is to have one that's like your in-person classes,
Yeah.
a semester, full semester, with a lot of people, or people get nervous around other people. They get paid for like a single session of one-on-one with you for an hour or something like that. They don't want to take a whole semester.
Because this sounds like
That sounds like one of those 1 hour ones.
Yeah.
Specific to their thing.
To get somebody over a rough area.
Yeah.
I think that's important because, I remember when I was upholstering, when I first started out, there were a lot of those rough areas, where you have to be very careful too how many questions you ask in the course of a day. If you're asking a question after a question, sometimes the old upholsterer gets a little grouchy at you, and they'll turn at one point and say, "You figure it out," which is difficult because you're going to make mistakes. The whole thing about the YouTube channel, especially the online classes, to avoid those mistakes, especially at the fabric. This is where a lot of people get tripped up on, Patrick, at the fabric stage of things, because they've invested a lot of time into it at that point, and their fabric. Their fabric is expensive for most people, so they're very nervous. This is my experience with cutting especially. So I think the Zoom classes are going to fill in some really good gaps, Patrick.
Right.
So to me, I think we're the best station, we're the best channel and online classes, and we do have gaps. I think the Zoom classes are going to be really filling in the gaps that people probably have in their learning, and I think it's going to be great. I can't
it's
wait.
impossible to make a pre-recorded video that's tailored specifically to somebody.
Yeah, that didn't work.
It's so
So
hard to do that.
we're still testing the waters, but I think with the library of YouTube classes we have behind us, and the online classes, that we're really building those up. We're getting really bulky on those, which is great. And the Zoom classes, I think the people out there will be really liking us. So, are there any questions or comments at live, Patrick, right now?
Daniel says, any pictures of the cane chair? I'm not sure.
I don't right now. I mean this cane chair that we were just talking about? No. I did want to talk a little. I want to tell a little story before we sign off. That's kind of funny. Do you want to talk about the haunted house, Patrick? Or do you
Sure, yeah. We said we would talk about it this week, so finish with that.
All right, so I did this commercial job. So over the years, I did take commercial work, but commercial work is much different than custom work. Some people do both. It's kind of hard to focus when you're doing both. But at one point, I was working for a company, and this was a fairly big company. There were a few upholsterers and apprentice upholsterers and stitches and the like. So we got contracted for a job in a local restaurant that was had buttons in the back, a lot of buttons. So what we were talking about before, that I couldn't make each and every one of these buttons. I had to have other people make the buttons. And what I didn't know perhaps was that maybe one of the dies did have a burr on it. But anyhow, we did this job. It looked beautiful in the job, in the restaurant. I would go to have lunch, and all of a sudden I went in one day, and the owner says, "Hey, one of your buttons popped." Oh no! So I went over and I said, "Okay," and then I said, "Okay, I'll get around to doing it," because he was a good guy. And he was very patient with me. But then another one, and then another one, and there were like 4 or 5 buttons that popped. So this was an old section of New England. Can I mention the town, Patrick? Maybe not. I won't.
Who cares? Mention anything.
Oh, okay. So you guys, I want to set the. So this is an old, the oldest, one of the oldest towns in New England. Let's say that. And this was the oldest building in the oldest town in New England. And it was a restaurant, and it was a family-run restaurant for many generations and generations. So I said, "When can I come to fix it?" He said, "Well, Kevin, you know that we're a full running restaurant. The only time you can do it is at night." "What time?" "After 10 o'clock." "Oh, no." So I said, "Okay." So I came over, I met him at 10 o'clock at night, and I had to go through the kitchen area in order to get to the front. He said, "Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lock you in, so the front door's locked, and then when you leave through the kitchen. After you fix the buttons, you leave through the kitchen, and the door will lock behind you. Make sure it's locked when you leave." I said, "Okay." So I'm in there, and I'm fixing the buttons, and I get this really weird feeling, and all of a sudden, I heard, I don't know if I can make the sound, but actually, this is full. Can you guys imagine? I don't have a cup. Do you have a cup back there, an empty cup, Patrick?
A bottle.
It has to be a cup. Oh, I got one. It's distinct, you guys. And you can imagine, I'm in there alone. It's the middle of the night. And I get a creeped out feeling before this happened. But then I hear this noise from the kitchen. And I said, "Oh, what was that?" Then I heard another one. Now I'm alone in there, and I don't usually scare easy, you guys. Although if you see that tub chair video with the mouse, maybe I won't agree.
I should just take that from there and post that on YouTube.
No, don't. Whatever you do. But anyhow, I really did. I have to admit, I got creeped out. And then I realized, wait a minute, the noise is coming from the kitchen, and I have to leave that way. I really did want to take a chair and bust the window. I was so scared. Then I hear it again. Now that doesn't sound scary right now, you guys, but at midnight in a very old restaurant, the oldest New England town that's got a history of ghost sightings and everything else, that noise was like, I don't know, a shriek, a scream, Patrick. And then I heard it again. So let's get quiet and listen to this. From the kitchen. So, oh my God, it probably happened at different periods of time. Like, it must have been about 12 to 20 sounds like that. Let me do it again. I said, oh my God, I gotta get out of here. So I put the last button in, and I have to admit, I was sweating bullets, and I loaded my tools. I made it so that all my tools I could hold, and I didn't have to come back. So I was going to run through the kitchen. So I gather up all my tools. I got them, and I get to the kitchen. I start running, and I see all these cups all over the floor. Like, where did they come from? And I ran out, and I slammed the door, and my heart was racing. So the next day, I called the owner of the restaurant, and I said, how come you didn't tell me that your restaurant was haunted? And he said, oh, did you meet Helen? Like, who's Helen? Oh, she just plays jokes on us. I said, well, she played quite a joke last night with all those, did you see all those cups? He just laughed. He thought it was the funniest thing, but that son of a gun didn't tell me that before I went in there and got locked in. So that's
at least you have the story now, so that's good.
What?
At least you have the story to tell, so I guess it was worth it.
I know my heart was okay. So with that, I was going to tell another story, but we'll save that for next time, Patrick.
Yeah, Halloween's still
so that was my story.
Away, that time.
So we'll see you next time, you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.